Hello students. Now we are going to study about pressure belts and wind system. So first we will talk about pressure belts. On the Earth's surface, there are 7 pressure belts. With this diagram you all can see there are 7 pressure belts. They are the equatorial low. If you can see, they are the doldrums. The 2 subtropical highs, they are the Horst latitudes. The 2 subpolar lows and the 2 polar highs. Except the equatorial low, the others form matching pairs. If you look at the diagram, students, the equatorial low is exactly in between the doldrums. So you will see the other towards the north and towards the south, they are in pairs. There is a pattern of alternate high and low pressure belts over the earth. This is due to the spherical shape of the earth. Different parts of the earth are heated unequally. The equatorial region receives great amount of heat throughout the year. Warm air being light, the air at the equator rises, creating a low pressure. At the poles, if you look at the polar cap at the poles, north and south, the cold heavy air causes high pressure to be created or formed. It is also due to the rotation of the earth. In the subpolar region around latitude 60 degrees to 65 degrees north and south of the equator, the rotation of the earth pushes up the bulk of the air towards the equator, creating a low pressure belt in this region. Now, let's understand pressure belts. Pressure systems. Air expands when heated and gets compressed when cooled. This results in variation in the atmospheric pressure. The horizontal distribution of air pressure across the latitudes, if you look at the diagram, across the latitudes is characterized by high and low pressure belts. This is, however, a theoretical model because pressure belts are not always found as such on the earth. It is just theory based. We will see it later how the real condition is from the model which has been showed. These pressure belts are, again I repeat, the equatorial low in between, that's called the doldrums. It is the equatorial low pressure belt. The subtropic high pressure belts on either sides. The subpolar low pressure belts. The polar high pressure belts. The differences in atmospheric pressure causes the movement of air from high pressure to low pressure, setting the air in motion. Atmospheric pressure also determines when the air will rise or sink. Air in horizontal motion is wind. Students, air in horizontal motion is wind. The wind redistributes the heat and moisture across latitudes, thereby maintaining a constant temperature for the planet as a whole. The vertical rising of moist air forms clouds and brings precipitation. Now, if you look at this diagram, when we talk about climatology, temperature is taken into consideration, pressure systems on Earth, ocean currents, and wind system. What we are going to concentrate right now is on pressure systems on Earth. This is how it works. They all are connected with one another. They are linked. Ocean currents, temperature difference, pressure system, wind systems, all of those. Now, if you look at this, the vertical distribution of pressure is 1000 millibars, which is equal to 1.053 kilograms per square centimeter. Now, if you look at this diagram properly, you will see the 7 pressure belts, the equatorial low, the subtropical highs, the subpolar lows, and the polar. Now, what are the factors which control the pressure systems? There are 2 factors which are responsible, students, which control the pressure systems. That is the thermal factor and as the dynamic factor. So the thermal factors are due to the temperature variations from equator to the poles, equatorial low and polar high. The dynamic factors are pressure gradient forces. The rotation of the earth is the main reason. Coriolis force, subtropical high and subpolar low. Look at the way the movement of air takes place. Divergence, convergence, then there's convergence, divergence. When divergence is high, the convergence is low. Cyclonic and in anticyclonic conditions, how is the pressure? So it's low pressure when there's cyclones, it's converging air, and it's high pressure when it's anticyclone and it's diverging air. Now the movement of air. The vertical movement is called convectional movement. Temperature difference, there is temperature difference. There's upward movement convergence, means there is instability. There is downward movement divergence, there is stability. Horizontal movement is advectional movement, that is its pressure difference. So there are two types of movements of air, vertical and horizontal. This is how the movement of air takes place. Yes, this is exactly what we are going to study about. Each part we are going to study and we are going to understand the concept in detail. Of the 7 world pressure belts, equatorial low pressure belt and the polar high pressure belts of the earth are formed due to the thermal factors. High temperature in the equatorial region leads to low pressure, and in equatorial low pressure belt and low temperature in polar region leads to high pressure in polar high pressure belts of the world. Subtropical high pressure belt. Now let's understand, before I move on to subtropical high pressure, let's understand the equatorial low pressure belt. What happens in the equatorial low pressure belt? In the equatorial low pressure belt, the sun shines almost vertically on the equator throughout the year. As a result, the earth gets warm and rises over the equatorial region and produces equatorial low pressure. This belt extends from 10 degrees north to 10 degrees south latitudes. Due to excessive heating, horizontal movement of air is absent here and only convectional currents are there. Therefore, this belt is called doldrums, that is the zone of calm. Doldrums, as it is called, the zone of calm, due to virtual absence of surface winds. These are the regions of convergence because the winds flowing from subtropical high pressure belts converge here. This belt is also known as intertropical convergence zone. I repeat, equatorial low pressure belt is also known as intertropical convergence zone. Now we come to subtropical belt. It is formed due to massive subsidence of winds which results in high pressure. Subpolar low pressure belt is formed due to massive ascent of wind resulting in low pressure. We'll get some more information about the subtropical high pressure belt. The subtropical high pressure belt extends from tropics to about 35 degrees latitudes, both the hemispheres. In the northern hemisphere, it is called as the north subtropical, and in the southern, it is called south subtropical high pressure belt. The existence of these belts is because the uprising air of the equatorial region is deflected. I repeat, it is deflected towards the poles due to the Earth's rotation. So this happens only because of the Earth's rotation. After becoming cold and heavy, it descends in these regions and is piled up. This results in high pressure. So why is there high pressure? Because when it becomes cold air becomes heavy and it descends in this region, so there's high pressure. Calm conditions with feeble and variable winds are found here. They used to throw, now in olden days, vessels with cargo of horses passing through the belts found difficulty in sailing under these calm conditions. They used to throw the horses in the sea in order to make the vessels lighter. Henceforth, these belts or latitudes are also called horse latitudes. So, as equatorial low pressure belts are called intertropical convergence zone, that is ITCZ, subtropical high pressure belts are called horse latitudes. These are the regions of divergence because winds from these areas blow towards equatorial and subpolar pressure belts. These pressure belts of the world are called global pressure belts. Since pressure gradient is there from one belt to the other, wind blows from high pressure region to low pressure region. But these winds are deflected by the Coriolis force, that is the centrifugal forces. When I talk about centrifugal means they keep moving in a curved path and away from the center, arising due to the Earth's rotation. According to Ferrel's law, in the northern hemisphere, this Coriolis force, I will show you all what is it exactly, deflects the winds towards the right, and in southern hemisphere they are deflected towards the left. So in the north it's towards the right and south it's towards the left. The deflection is minimum near the equator and maximum at the poles. From subtropical high pressure belt to equatorial low pressure belt, the winds are deflected moderately and are called trade winds. From subtropical high pressure belt to subpolar low pressure belt, the deflection is high and appear as blowing from west to east and hence are called westerlies. This we'll get into more details. Now let's understand what is the subpolar low pressure belt. The subpolar low pressure belts, these extend between 45 degrees north and the Arctic Circle in the northern hemisphere and 45 degrees south and the Antarctic Circle in the southern hemisphere. They are known as north subpolar low and south subpolar low pressure belts respectively. Winds coming from the subtropical and the polar high belts converge here to produce cyclonic storms or low pressure conditions. So this is also called as polar front. It is also called as polar front. From polar high pressure belt to subpolar low pressure belt, the deflection is high and appears as blowing from east to west and hence are called polar easterlies. Now we are going to study about the polar high pressure belts. In polar regions, sun never shines vertically. Sun rays are always slanting here, resulting in low temperatures. Because of low temperature, air compresses and its density increases. Hence, high pressure is found here. In the northern hemisphere, the belt is called the north polar high pressure belt, while it is in the as the south polar high pressure belt in the southern hemisphere. Winds from these belts blow towards subpolar low pressure belts. This system of pressure belts that we have just studied is a generalized picture. In reality, the location of these pressure belts is not permanent. They shift northwards in July and southwards in January, changing position of the sun's direct rays as they migrate between the tropics of Cancer and tropics of Capricorn. The thermal equator, commonly known as the belt of highest temperature, also shifts northwards and southwards of the equator. With the shifting of the thermal equator northwards in summer and southwards in winter, there is also a slight shift in pressure belts towards north and south of their annual average location. This, what I spoke to you all, was about the pressure belts. What is a pressure belt and how is it related to each of these pressure belts? How are they connected to one another? The seven layers of the pressure belt actually. So they were the subpolar low pressure belts, mid latitude high pressure belts, equatorial low pressure belts, and polar winds. So this we spoke about that. Now the relation between wind and pressure is We already know that the movement of air from high atmospheric pressure in a virtual horizontal plane is wind. Its direction and strength is a result of following four factors. So the four factors which are responsible are the pressure gradient, the Coriolis force, the centrifugal force, and the friction. So this comes into the factors which are dealing with wind and pressure completely. All these winds formed by the pressure belts are called global winds or planetary winds or primary winds. Out of the three types of winds that exist in the world, these winds are the first. So, which winds are the first? The planetary winds or the primary winds are the first of its kind. Look at this figure. This figure completely describes this topic of pressure belts, the 7 layers of the pressure belts, and how the winds move forward from high pressure to low pressure. There are trade winds, planetary winds, which we will study little more. We know now that equatorial pressure is called doldrums, the subtropical high pressure is called horse latitude, and then there are polar and easterlies and polar prevailing westerlies. So all these topics come under the pressure belt. Now here again, when I talk about air pressure is the measure of force with which air molecules push on a surface. Air pressure is greatest at the surface of the earth because there is more of atmosphere above you to push down on you. If you look at the figure, you will understand. As you move up through the atmosphere, air pressure decreases. When you move up, the pressure decreases. Air pressure is dependent on density. Now, density means more dense air will have higher air pressure, means there are more air molecules in the given space to push down on you. Less dense air will have lower air pressure, means there are few air molecules to push down on you. So, with this diagram, you can understand what do you mean by more dense and less dense. So, first thing what air pressure is dependent upon? It is dependent upon density. Air pressure is affected by three factors: elevation or altitude, temperature, water content. Impact of elevation on air pressure: as you may move up through the atmosphere, air pressure decreases. There are fewer air molecules above you to push down on you, so the force of the air will be less. Impact of water content or humidity on air pressure: we know now that air pressure depends on density. Now, what is the impact of water or humidity on air pressure? Moist air is less dense than dry air and therefore has lower air pressure. A water molecule has less mass than other molecules that make up the air. If you replace some of the air molecules with water molecules, the water lowers the density and lowers the air pressure. Weighs less since water is lighter than nitrogen and oxygen. Impact of temperature and air pressure. Now, warm air is less dense than cold air. Therefore, warm air has lower air pressure and cold air has higher air pressure. The molecules in warm air are moving fast and are spread further apart. Therefore, there are fewer air molecules in a given area to push you down. Barometer, this is a piece of equipment which is used to measure air pressure this is called a barometer. There are two types, aneroid and mercury. Air pressure affects the weather. Air pressure in a weather system reflects the amount of water in the air which affects the weather. Low air pressure usually results in bad weather, stormy cloud, overcast. High air pressure usually results in good weather, clear skies. Now these are the winds what we are going to talk about, the Earth's wind system. a rotating motion of air relative to Earth's surface. If this gradient wind circulates in counterclock direction, then it is termed as cyclone in northern hemisphere, which is called anticyclone in southern hemisphere. So I hope students you all understand the difference between anticyclone. It is one and the same thing, but it is termed as different. It is termed by different names, that is cyclone in northern hemisphere, anticyclone in southern hemisphere, if the wind circulates in counterclock direction. Similarly, the clockwise motion of air is called cyclone in southern hemisphere, while it is called anticyclone in northern hemisphere. So this is a good difference to show that what is anticyclone and cyclone exactly in southern and northern hemisphere, how do they occur. High pressure anticyclone, low pressure cyclone. Now wind. Wind is a moving air caused by differences in air pressure. What causes wind? Air moves. Students, air is constantly moving, it's in motion. I told you all in the last lecture, it is odorless, colorless, and tasteless. It moves from areas of high pressure to areas of low pressure. The greater the pressure difference, the faster the air moves and the stronger winds blow. You can see how air moves if you blow up a balloon and then let it go. The air inside the balloon is at higher pressure than the air around the balloon. If you open the end of the balloon, air will rush out. What causes differences in air pressure? Most differences in air pressure is caused by differences in air temperature. Temperature differences happen because some parts of Earth get more energy from the sun than others. For example, the sun shines more directly on the equator, we all know that, than on the poles. As a result, the air is warmer near the equator. Look at the resulting temperate zones, the temperature zones. Convectional cells. The warm air near the equator is not as dense as the cool air near the poles because it is less dense. The air at the equator rises, forming areas of low pressure. The cold air near the poles sink, forming areas of high pressure. The air moves in large circular patterns called convection cells. This is how a convection cell looks. What are the major global wind systems? Global winds are large-scale wind systems. There are three pairs of major global wind systems or wind belts, which we are going to talk about as trade winds, westerlies and easterlies. Major global wind systems. Trade winds are wind belts that blow from 30-degree latitude almost to the equator. They curve to the west as they blow towards the equator. Now we'll throw some light on this. North and south of the doldrums are the trade wind belts, covering roughly the zones lying between 5 degrees and 30 degrees. The trades are best developed over the Pacific and Atlantic Ocean. Which two oceans? Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, but are upset in the Indian Ocean by the proximity of Great Asiatic Land Mass. The trade wind belts are not altogether favorable for navigation or flying because over certain oceanic portions at certain seasons there are terrible tropical storms known as hurricanes and typhoons. We will study about these also more in detail. The prevailing wind is from the northeast and winds are termed as northeast trades. In the southern hemisphere, deflection of the moving air to the left causes the southeast trades. Trade winds are noted for their steadiness and directional persistence, means they are quite steady and persistent. Most of these winds come from one quarter of the equator. Coming to the next major global wind system is the westerlies, the belt of westerlies. Westerlies are wind belts that are found between 30 degrees and 60 degrees latitude. The westerlies blow towards the poles from west to east. Most of the United States is located in the belt of westerly winds. These winds carry most moist air over the United States, producing rain and snow. Now, within the westerly belt, winds blow from any direction of the compass, but the westerly components are definitely predominant. Storm winds are common in this belt. So in westerlies, storm winds are very common, as frequently as cloudy days with continued precipitation. The weather is highly changeable over here. In the northern hemisphere, the land masses cause considerable disruption of the westerly wind belt, but in the southern hemisphere, between the latitude 40 and 60 degrees, there is almost unbroken breadth of westerlies. The belt was extensively used for sailing vessels traveling eastwards from the South Atlantic Ocean to Australia, Tasmania, New Zealand, and Southern Pacific. Transoceanic and transcontinental flights in the easterly direction require less fuel and short time. On westward flights, strong headwinds may eat dangerously into the fuel supply of the plane and in any event necessitate reduced payload. Now the easterlies we'll talk about. What is polar easterlies? They are wind belts that extend from the poles to 60 degrees latitude. They form as cold, sinking air moves away from the poles. In northern hemisphere, polar easterlies can carry cold Arctic air over the United States. This can produce snow and freezing weather. More we can throw light on this is a wind system like polar easterlies has been described as the characteristic of the Arctic and the polar zones. So this is especially for the Arctic and the polar zones. The concept is oversimplified for winds in these regions take a variety of directions. So winds in these regions take variety of directions, and the second characteristics is that they can be described as of the Arctic and polar zones. They are dictated by local weather disturbances. In Antarctica, where an ice-capped landmass rests squarely upon the pole and is surrounded by a vast oceanic expanse, the outward spiraling flow of polar easterlies is a valid concept. Deflected to the left in the southern hemisphere, the radial winds would spiral counterclockwise. Now the major wind system. Have a look at this, what all I have spoken with. The trade winds meet and rise near the equator in a region known as doldrums. The doldrums is the equatorial region. The wind in the doldrum is very weak. The region between the trade winds and the westerlies is known as horse latitude. Students, for understanding this particular topic wherein the wind region or the pressure belts with wind is concerned, the relation between wind and pressure is concerned, have a look at this diagram, keep it in front of you all and take each subtopic and read and understand and learn it properly. The region between the trade winds and the westerlies is known as horse latitude. Here cool air sinks, creating a region of high pressure. The winds here are very weak. Why do global winds curve? Remember that pressure differences can cause air to move and form winds. If Earth did not rotate, these winds would blow in straight lines. However, because of Earth does rotate, the winds follow curved paths. This deflection or curving of moving objects from a straight path because of Earth's rotation is called Coriolis effect. This defines the Coriolis effect nicely because this term has been repeated time and again. I repeat, curving of moving objects from a straight path because of the Earth's rotation is called Coriolis effect. So students, I hope this is the relation between the wind and pressure is clear to you all, as well as the pressure belts with the different types of winds is clear to you all. I will talk about the hurricane, the tornadoes and all of it even more in my next class. Thank you.